Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News here at the South Florida Conservative News Center. It is Wednesday, September 3rd, 11:30. And once again, the top three for the last few months of questions for the Trump administration is, what do you think? Where are the Epstein files? What have you done with the Epstein files? My wife is most vocal about the condition of the Epstein files. It has been probably the largest attracting item in an otherwise glorious first year in office. The fact that Donald Trump cannot deliver the famous Epstein files to the people that voted for him. And it seems a lot of people who voted strictly for him, strictly for the Epstein files. So while you're sitting there worried about different things going on, I would suggest if you have a couple dollars in your pocket to do what I do and send some money the way of Judicial Watch, judicialwatch.org, I believe it is. And they have already filed Freedom of Information Act and also lawsuits against the government to turn over the documentation, which is more than you will see out of the standard government issue things. And we'll talk about Representative Luna and her new, bid to fame as far as this is going on. All right. So what we're going to talk about is the Jeffrey Epstein FOIA, FOIA battle, which spotlights Judicial Watch, as I said, Representative Anna Paulina Luna's task force and the House Oversight Committee. And we're going to talk about what's still off limits or doesn't exist or what have you. So we'll talk about Judicial Watch first. As I mentioned them, probably one of the most effective legal watchdog organizations in the United States. Okay. And it has been pushing for the release of the Epstein related files. And this is just, we're going to go through it so you know, and you can do what you want to do. I would suggest if you were interested in this Epstein file things, you can go to a site like theirs, subscribe to the newsletter, and they will keep you updated so you don't have to wonder what's going on in the regular news cycles all the time. April 2025, Judicial Watch filed a FOIA lawsuit. Freedom of Information Act is what FOIA is. Okay. Demanding records from the Department of Justice and FBI about Epstein's associates and clients. By July 7th, a joint status report. This is information Judicial Watch put out. I'm giving it to you. By July 7th, a joint status report was filed in court stating that both the Department of Justice and FBI are still searching for relevant records and are only reviewing documents, not production yet, which means they're not turning them over. They're not producing them. Another FOIA request, this time targeting records involving Virginia Giuffre, followed shortly, but again yielded no documents. As of mid-2025, Judicial Watch has not received any documents, merely confirmation that the agencies are still looking. Okay, so it started in April. As of today, we'll just say it's the beginning of September. So that's 4 to 9. So it's 5 months and nothing. Okay. Meanwhile, the DOJ has taken a different stance. On July 7th, Business Insider reported that the DOJ announced it will not release any more Epstein files despite previous promises. This shows you the files still being held or being withheld include evidence from the 2019 and 2007 criminal investigations, Epstein's seized hard drives, grand jury materials, detailed flight logs, financial records, and data connected to his suicide in jail. Right? Pam Bondi has mishandled, she's the attorney general, if you don't know. She will go down in history, even if she solves the who did it's, the who done it's, the who whatever's it's, of everything else, she will be known as the woman who mishandled the Epstein files to a level that it endangered Donald Trump's presidency, because it has. All right. Enter, stage right, Representative Anna Paulina Luna from down here in Florida, leading the Congressional Task Force on the declassification of federal secrets. I'm sorry, with Epstein files very high on her agenda. You know, somebody wants to be a congressman, somebody wants to be a governor. We're going to have a governor's race coming up soon. Task force created in February of 2025 with Luna appointed to spearhead the declassification of several historic records, which is the JFK, RFK, MLK, 9/11, UFOs, and Epstein's client list. On February 27th, representatives, conservative influencers received a binder titled The Epstein File Phase 1, but Luna's task force wasn't given the same access, prompting her to denounce the move as hollow showmanship, which is, if you know her and she's telling you it's hollow showmanship, believe her. On May 9th, the task force demanded AG Pam Bondi release all Epstein files, including the client list, by May 16th. They also in there asked for the information from the grand jury. Now, grand jury testimony in general is normally not open to purview. And that was the one they just made a big thing of a couple of weeks ago. They said, well, we couldn't get the grand jury testimony out. Well, normally that's not how it works. You normally don't get that because it's a privacy issue, especially for people that they're going to use in the grand jury or have spoken in front of it. It's done an anonymity issue. All right. But that being what it is, that's where they stand with that thing. As I said, May 9th, the task force demands AG Pam Bondi release all Epstein files. Of course, to date, same thing. What the task force has received appears to be only the limited phase 1 materials. Those are heavily redacted and they are lacking substantial new information. So on September 2nd, the House Oversight Committee led by James Comer released 33,295 pages of Epstein-related records after subpoenaing the DOJ. But the critics argue around 97% of these documents were already available in the public domain. I guess they should really check to see what level of redaction is in there and see if it's the same. That could count in the favor of the people releasing information. Only under 1,000 pages feature genuinely new contract, which are flight logs from the Customs and Border Protection. Despite the low revelation yield, oversight continues to push for more, seeking suspicious activity reports, which they call a SARS, from the Treasury and other missing pieces such as the Black Book, which you're not going to find, and financial records. With bipartisan calls pushing a discharge petition only 2 signatures away from forcing a vote to release additional files, you're going to get pressure mounting there. But the Senate and the potential presidential veto still loom large. So what hasn't surfaced yet? Okay. We have the client list, no unredacted authoritative list of Epstein's alleged clients. You got the log from the Lolita Express. That's a different thing. Client list, but then again, when they're saying client list, do they mean client as in he's doing his hokey finances with them, or client as in he's selling children to them? That's been semantics, is it really? But yes, it is. And that's the issue that you have with that. They can play that game for quite some time. So you have seized evidence and hard drives that were not made public, potential insight to victims and associates that are covered in redactions. This comes from the James O'Keefe expose where Pam Bondi's at some event and tells somebody that they've got like 4 million hours of kiddie porn and they have to look through it. Well, somebody has to look through it. And they say, well, we're not looking through it. If there is an adult in there, and you can check this, I'm 90% sure or more. If there is an adult in the video with children that are being interfered with, it is the FBI or whoever else is handling its duty to figure out who that happy asshole is. You just don't say, well, he doesn't look familiar, so we're going to let it go. That's not how it works. This should be being worked as a case right now. If it is not being worked as a case right now, what are they doing with it? Makes sense, right? So, grand jury materials, like I said, you're probably not going to get them. They've tried to get them unsealed, they failed. Supposedly holds around 100,000 pages of undisclosed material. Depends on how you do your grand jury hearings. They may have just had a boilerplate amount of stuff and just run through it. We don't know because you won't know. But either way, that's not the most important thing because there's not usually a lot of aha stuff there. You don't want to blow your load, as they would say, in the grand jury level, because grand jury's level to convict, meaning to allow to go to prosecution, is fairly low. You wouldn't put out all your super important shit right now because it gives the defense attorney a chance to work up a defense against it or chop away at its validity, what have you. So then the DOJ, FBI internal communications, those have not been released. FOIA requests remain unfulfilled, and most new documents coming via congressional subpoena are still public record fragments. And if you go to our site, we have a summary table in there, which is following the same type of thing that I just discussed here. And you'll have that as well. The thing, like I said, if you're trying to follow this and you want to follow it in a correct manner where you will get the information as it comes up, I would tell you Judicial Watch is your number one choice. Representative Luna has a habit of being P.T. Barnum. And in general, the Oversight Committee, do they really want to open this up? This is one of those everyone's happy the man's dead kind of things. All right. Because if they thought, but you have to follow the logic is if they thought Trump was in there doing something bad, the Democrats would have been screaming so loud it would awaken the dead. Conversely, there are probably Republicans and Democrats both on there who still have juice. Maybe someone who's friends with Mitch McConnell, right? Bill Clinton. You have a lot of people like that that are definitely circling the drain on this one. Okay. So the thing is, you bury my husband on this, I'll bury you in general, or this and that and the other thing. When you have a city such as Washington that is so full of dirty secrets, you have to watch when you start pulling the thread out of the sweater, as they will tell you. So what you're seeing with these releases that we've had, you're seeing volume without substance, and the real files are remaining tightly sealed. There is going to be a continued issue because you want to see the discharge position when the outcome of the discharge petition, I'm sorry, supporting Epstein files Transparency Act push. All right. So follow Judicial Watch. You can look at Democracy Forward. I prefer Judicial Watch for potential breakthroughs in FOIA litigation. And the Oversight Committee, of course, once again, the most affected by politics is going to be Luna and the Oversight Committee. So that's pretty much where we are on that. I know everybody would like to hear something better, but that's kind of why this guy had the money he had, because of the amount of shade and shady figures and deep, dark perversion and things of that nature. But anyway, that's all I can tell you. Oh, and by the way, we're not affiliated with Judicial Watch or Democracy Forward or any of those companies that I mentioned. All right. So otherwise, have a good day. Any questions, you can contact us at any of the sites that we're on. We respond to every one of them. And that's going to be about it. Talk to you later.